guess he figured that Durrrr had an ace along with him.
Yeah, or maybe he was just sick of Tom folding to all his river bets and thought, I'll check it, and maybe I'll get some money in this time.
Not a bad idea.
No, not a bad idea at all. I literally don't think I've seen Tom call a river bet from Sammy in this match.
We're talking about, does most of the skill happen on the small pots or the big pots? There's no question that the river is the most complicated street, though, in No Limit, right? Is that, or is that another oversimplification?
I think that might be another oversimplification. On the river, you're either ahead or behind. You're not, you're never 35% to win the hand on the river, so that does make it a lot simpler.
I just bet too much or something?
I think the flop or turn is probably the trickiest street in Heads Up No Limit.
What? You're sick. You had to bet it. I was happy to check that the whole way to you, yeah? But no. You have to get all stupid. You have to. You've got to, do something crazy, huh? I bet 5K.
It wasn't a big bluff, but it always feels good to pick one off.
Yeah.
Sammy, 500 plus.
There's a free 16,000 sitting out there. I just didn't want to pick it up for some reason.
You thought that belongs to Sammy, it's only fair, huh?
No, that's not how I think. I think every chip in the middle belongs to me at all times.
Well said.
Raise up to 3,000.
11.
Raise up to 11.
No.
Call.
Been a couple
Absolutely
of
well
spots
said.
here where you could easily have seen the pots getting much bigger pre-flop, and they haven't.
Yeah, that's true. Sammy made that 1-4 bet early with ace-jack, but other than that, the pots have not gone more than raise and re-raise, except when both players have had big hands.
Fold.
Massive flop for Tom, and he bets right out and shows it.
Oh, I thought you were going to show me,
Nope.
Interesting that Tom would choose to show there.
Yeah, or interesting he chose to bet, because he does check so often.
He has checked a lot. In particular, he's checked a lot on that sort of board, where a lot of the medium hands flop pairs and straight draws.
Raise up to 3,000.
I mean, you keep talking about this balance that you have to be able to do different things at different times at different hands, but as to when to do them, when to check or when to bet, it is a guessing game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no way to teach that, really, when...
No, experience teaches it. Having played, Tom's probably played a million hands of Heads Up No Limit.
Right.
And that's what teaches it.
Well, he's bet 5K here. The check raise with top pair. We haven't seen too much of that on the
There
flop.
really has not been a whole lot of raising on the flop in this match from either player. And this is an interesting spot to do it as well, because top pair obviously is going to be the best hand the majority of the time. But, you put in a raise on the flop and big bets on the turn in the river, and by the time you're at that point, Queen-Jack is not looking so strong, depending on how the board runs out.
In fact, whether or not, if Tom calls or re-raises here, either of those moves, Sammy has to start thinking that his hand is in trouble.
Yeah, this very well could work out well for him, but Sammy is putting himself in a position to have to make some hard decisions on later streets.
He's re-raised it.
He has. Big. Very big. This is exactly what Sammy doesn't want to see, having raised the flop with a hand like Queen-Jack.
And it's just somewhere between... is it a genius play by Durrrr? Is it a bit of a disaster?
It's hard to say. A whole lot of it depends on a couple different judgments he'd have to make about Sammy. First of all, what is he likely to be raising the flop with in the first place? Is he likely to have a lot of hands like this that are going to really have hard decisions against that raise? And secondly, where does he think Sammy's at emotionally? What's his mood? Is he going to be able to make a big fold?
Well, Sammy's called this, and what do you think's going through Durr's head? Am I shutting down on the turn? Am I going to go again?
I think he's going to go again. He's at least going to think about it pretty seriously. And that's a card to do it on. 4-5 gets there, and now one of Tom's most likely bluffing hands has improved to the nuts. And I don't think Sammy frequently has 4-5 himself here, though I wouldn't be too surprised to see that, actually. So, I think Tom can bet here.
Tom's definitely thinking hard. You can see. Look at every nerve alive here.
They were about 425,000 deep to start this hand, so they've now got about 375 to play in this pot of 110.
Those are the purples. Those are the 5K chips.
Yep. The money can easily go in over the next two streets without an overbet here.
And to me, this is the scariest thing about playing heads up, no limit. A situation like this.
Yep.
If you're Sammy right now, what do you do?
It's brutal.
He swallowed
You
it.
can see he's not happy.
No, he's got very dry mouth there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
93,000.
I mean, this is crazy. I know he's ahead here, but I don't see how he can possibly call. This is not a line that Durr has taken at all.
Durr has not made a lot of big bluffs against him. No, he hasn't.
Wow, and think about it. Oh, he did lay it down. That was
There
a
it
pot
goes.
to get them almost even.
Yeah. Wow. That's a gutsy bluff by Tom.
Oh, that pot nearly could have gotten him even.
Yeah, if Sammy had correctly called him all the way down there, he would have doubled up to about 850. He would have been ahead.
But yet, it was because he had so much money that Tom went for the bluff in the first place?
I think so, yeah. Absolutely.
Raise up to 3,000.
What he was saying about
Raise
hearing
up to 11.
the engineering grads talk about their jobs after college. Had a pretty similar experience talking to some seniors from the computer science department at Brown who were getting ready to go out into the real world and get jobs and thinking, I could make a lot more money than this playing poker. I already am.
And yet, there was a certain time when Tom just distinguished himself from the pack, as it were, when all of a sudden he just went crazy, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Tom had a meteoric rise in the online no-limit games. Pretty much as fast as bigger games were opening, he was crushing whoever would play him at the highest stakes
Fold.
that would run.
Sammy getting away with a little bluff there.
Yeah? Yeah, I'd like to see him do a bit more of that.
Is it very hard when you're in the middle of a match to sort of analyze what the other player's perception of you is doing, as we're saying that Tom must think Sammy's not bluffing much?
Yeah, it can be tricky because, you know, you get an idea in your head that this guy's not bluffing, and then you start making all these folds, and each time you fold, you pat yourself on the back saying, I just made another good fold to this guy who doesn't bluff. You never see the evidence to change your mind.
Right, you don't get the reinforcement.
Raise up to 3,000.
And Sammy with the 7 deuce.
Can see some action here.
Check.
Good flop for him.
Must bet.
Yep.
5,000. Fold.
Good bet.
Oh, man.
Sammy collects another
10,000
10K.
bonus for 2-7.
So sick.
You'll see Sammy's raising fully 20% less than Tom from the button here, and that translates into a lot fewer hands won, in particular a lot fewer hands won before the flop. Yeah, when I'm playing a big heads-up match online, I'll take a break every 40 minutes or so just to get up and stretch my legs, walk around a little bit.
Fold.
Saw that big pot earlier with the queen jack, and so you can see there is every chance for Sammy to even here. I mean, big pots will happen.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you take that 250,000 away. Sammy lost with the ace-king, and geez, there's not much in this besides that.
No, it's really been quite close.
Check. 5,000.
Interesting check on the flop by Sammy.
5 there somewhere.
Not the first time we've seen him check back with top pair. I think that he's been trying to trap Tom a little, and I'm not sure it's been working that well. We haven't really seen Tom just fire off 2 big bluffs on the turn river just because Sammy's checked back the flop.
No, and in fact, I mean, with those deuces, I guess, you said under pairs are hard to play, but to me that would have been a spot where you might have thought, hey, these deuces could be way ahead right now.
I know we're playing in pounds.
Well,
right?
never way ahead. They're going to get counterfeited on a 5 or a 7. And
For you, anything.
Sammy's got 2 overcards
Right.
with any hand other than something like an ace deuce, but
Raise 3,000 total.
You're making me hate small pairs.
Go.
if you don't flop a set, they can be awfully tough to play heads up.
Raise and call. And 1 player with bottom pair.
You look like you're really hoping there were 3 different cards out there. That's why you were looking at it so long. Is there really an ace and a queen and a 6? I wanted a 7 and a 5 and a deuce.
Jeez, he's nearly psychic.
Check.
Still on a 7, 5 and deuce.
Wow.
And that's a pretty good river for Sammy. See if he overbets again.
He's been betting about 15 in this spot, hasn't he?
Yeah.
$10,000.
It's a very 7 deuce looking bet. Very 7 deuce looking bet.
Huh. Saying to himself, he wouldn't bet with a 9 here. He wouldn't
Especially
bet with
not
a
so big. Pays him off.
And
It sucks.
it doesn't surprise you, does it?
Not a whole lot. By making such a big bet, Sammy says, I've got a big hand or a bluff. And he might have a bluff often enough to make that a good call. Especially if, like Tom said, he's particularly worried about getting bluffed by 7 deuce. He loses an extra 10,000 when he does.
Right. Oh, right. Talking about that, the sort of the passive play versus the
Raise 3,000
over aggressive, and I guess that style that Tom has, sometimes just check and call and stuff like that. It was hands like that when you flop top pair, queen jack. The reason you do check call rather than check raise is because you don't want to open up those weird spots.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself in a situation where your opponent either has a better hand or a bluff. You're always just guessing in spots like that. You want to leave yourself in a situation where your opponent might bet for value on 2 streets with pocket 7s or something like that. And
Go.
I feel like we've seen an identical hand earlier. Sammy led on the flop of top pair, and Tom just insta-folded the ace-queen. This time he's peeling off.
yeah, in the last hand, a couple things were different. I believe it was like a 9-8-2 or 9-8-3 board with a flush draw, so it was a much more coordinated board. And then secondly, Sammy overbet on the flop when he had the king-9 in the previous hand. He bet around double pot, if I remember correctly. So both the drier board, where in particular on the 9-8 whatever board, if Tom hits a queen on the turn, that also completes a straight for Jack 10. Whereas if Tom hits a queen on that board, it's almost always going to be the best hand.